I've got a little countdown here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Students Abroad Answer, where we delve in talking to students that are currently studying medicine and dentistry mainly, taught in the English language across a bunch of different European countries. They're based from all over the world, and we want to hear their stories, their accounts, understand a bit more about the whole experience, and how it could benefit some of you out there. And this is brought to you by MedLink students. Today, we have Aaron Joseph on the show with us, and he's going to be talking a little bit about his experience so far. Aaron has just got started into medical school and is currently in his first year in Georgia. Aaron, nice to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Tom. It's been a pleasure for letting me have this opportunity.
Yes, yeah, and we were just talking before, weren't we, about how you're really looking forward to sharing this experience and helping people who were in a similar position as you before.
Yes, exactly. I wouldn't want anyone to feel as if though they can't have this opportunity. So I'd love to share my experience.
Great. So, if you can start by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what's kind of led you into pursuing medicine.
Okay. I'm 19 years old. I'm originally from the south of India, a state called Kerala. And I haven't always lived in the same place. My family loves traveling a lot. Um, so although I was born in India, I moved to Newcastle in England, Newcastle upon Tyne. We lived there for a couple of years, and then after around 7 years, we decided we didn't want to live there anymore, so we moved to New Zealand, all the way over to the other side of the world, and lived there for another 6, 7 years. Decided we wanted to come back, and then here I've been in the UK in a place called Stoke-on-Trent, near Manchester, since from year 9 all the way down to year 13, where I finished my schooling. Um, and then came the point where I had to choose my career path, and I've always had a strong science background. I've always been good in science, so um, I did have an idea that I wanted to do medicine, but unfortunately, I didn't get into a medicine in the UK, which I wanted to preferred to. Um, then, actually, a family friend of mine said, recommend who already was studying in Georgia over here, in Tbilisi Medical Academy, um, said, "Why not come over here? It's great here, and I'm sure you'd love it. It's almost the same as it's different to the UK, but um, it's a challenge. It's challenging, and um, all of the people here are lovely. You'd love it." So I thought
Fantastic.
about this, yeah, and
And going back a little bit before we start going a lot into Georgia, which I'm sure a lot of people are listening and wanting to hear about. But let's hear about what was it that made you really want to get into medicine? Was there a decisive moment, or is it just sort of something that's always been there?
actually, in 2018, like a couple of years ago, we went on a holiday to back home in Kerala, and unfortunately, that was a time where floods hit the state. So I
Hmm.
was kind of trapped in that in my house, and unfortunately,
Wow,
yeah, it was an experience.
I can
Unfortunately,
imagine.
the water didn't it did kind of flood our house, but not to the extent of other people. Like some people, it completely submerged their houses, and that caused a lot of divide. That caused um, loads of chaos, as you can imagine. The government kind of set up these camps where um, they requested any doctors or any healthcare professionals that they could treat to them, and help them in any way. Um, so my uncle, he's a doctor, and the government called him to come to one of the camps that was close to our home, and he said, and my uncle said, basically, come along, let me show you what I'm gonna do. And when I was there, I heard the screams of people in pain and suffering, and how they were frantic, and basically they they did they didn't know what they were doing because they were in so much pain. When my uncle attended to them and treated them, um, I could see the pain basically go away from them, and I wanted to make like emulate what he did, and by pursuing um, a career in medicine, and becoming a doctor myself. So just observing the change in people's attitudes and how he reassured them, kind of was the turning point in what why I wanted to pursue medicine, basically.
That's incredible. I've heard so many stories before. As you can imagine, I speak to so many medical students and so many people looking to study medicine. And I hear of these things all around the world. And I think sometimes it takes something like that to give you that level of dedication. Students, especially students who they don't make it the easy way initially, straight into the school of their choice. But in order to actually go and study abroad, they have to have one of these big impactful events that, I mean, you can probably remember that like it was yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was so like big of a moment. Like I can still feel like and hear the screams. Basically, it's very palpable.
Yeah, and I suppose that's what's helped you to carry on, and every time you've faced rejection with applications, you've just carried on through it. Did you apply, was it one time in the UK?
Oh, I actually wanted to had like ambitious ambitions in the UK. I
Uh-huh.
wanted to go to UCL, but then after that rejection, the first rejection, and many rejections after that, um, I kind of, the first time it didn't, as you would imagine, the first time I kind of took it really to heart, and I thought I couldn't. Oh, it's done. It's over for me. But I went, like, I got some help. I told my parents. I told got help from my school, my sixth form, and they were like happy, so happy to help me. They said, um, "It's not the end of the world, Aaron. You shouldn't give up. This is just the start of a path um, for medicine. It's not always going to be easy." So
I'm so glad to hear that, because with so many different schools and experiences that I hear from students, so many have in their mindset that if I can't get into medicine in the UK, I'm not capable. I'm not smart enough to do medicine. I'm not disciplined enough to do medicine. Did you at any point feel that way as well before having that support?
yes, actually, as my route to medicine wasn't just from A to B. It was always up. There was like a lot of ups and downs, and a major down was that I doubted myself, my ability to pursue this passion, and did I have it in me, basically. Um, so much so to the point that um, I actually joined TMA in March after the September intake. So basically, I did my A
So
levels.
this is Tbilisi Medical Academy in Georgia, for those listening.
Yes,
We all
yeah,
call it TMA, so it's so normal for us. But for people listening, they might not have heard of the university so far.
yeah. Um, so I did complete my A levels in 2021 in September. So I didn't know what I was going to do at that point after getting rejected from the UK universities. So I heard that from a friend that TMA was doing March intakes as well. So I went ahead and applied. It was easy process to do, um, and then I started the course. It's online. Um, I did a few months at the university online, and then I said to myself, that doubt that I had, that self doubt, it kind of got the better of me, and um, I decided to take a break. I paused my student status for a couple of months, and then the student committee or the the teachers, they told me to think about it, and if you want, you can come back. So I took a break, and then in September later that year, I decided to come back. So here
What
I
was
am now.
Yeah, during that time, so just recap there. So you didn't get into the UK, and obviously that had a big effect on you, I imagine. Having, those rejections, as it does with so many students, it's such a difficult process that you go through, and the feedback they give is very limited on why you don't get the places, and it can, lead to a very unhealthy mindset to develop within someone's mind when it comes to medical school. Obviously you had all of that going on in your head, and you still decide, okay, I'm going to go and start at this school in March. They're going to let me do a few of the classes online to begin with, as Georgia was allowing at that time. um, so you started that. What kind of doubts and what things were going through your head at that point when you were doing those classes? Because I guess you were just all on your own in a room on your laptop doing your studies.
Yeah, when I first came to Georgia in May, um, I was living by myself, and with all these like self um, doubt thoughts, and it was very consistent, persistent thoughts. Um, I constantly had the um, or the feeling that I couldn't do it. I couldn't take it anymore. Um, but what really helped me um, was the reassurance of the TMA like staff and teachers. Um, well, I had like loads of like what if thoughts. What if I didn't pass this
Hmm.
exam? What if I didn't? Um,
Dangerous thoughts.
yeah, and that's not a very um, good place to be in. But there is always hope at the end of the like, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Um, so if you want help, basically, you should ask for it. You shouldn't be afraid to ask for help. That's what I would say. That's what got
So
me out of it.
that's what got you out of it. So you took a little break from it. You kind of gathered your thoughts. You asked the right people for support, and then you got started on it all again.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Um, I think resilience in medical school is a very important aspect to have, especially as a doctor. You're not always gonna um, have success in treatment of the patient, and when you and you're it's kind of inevitable, I would say. And I mean, learning to deal with failure or rejection is is key to self growth, I'd say. And like learning this early on, it's really helped me grow as a person, and I'm sure it's going to help me grow as a doctor.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing this insight, because these are things, if you're listening now and you're thinking about applying to medical school, note these points down, because this is something that Aaron's had to go through a tough time to determine and to find for himself. But now you're on, as you said, you found the light, you're on the brighter end of it now. So tell
Yeah.
us, what was it like rejoining onto the course properly in September?
Um, well, coming to a new country as um, anyone who would go to a different country to study abroad, um, always always difficult with the new language, new
It's
culture.
very different when you're not moving with family as well, isn't it? I bet you saw a big difference sort of going on your own this time.
Yes, it hit me hard when my dad left me. Like, he just was there for a couple of days, told me so I could settle in. But then when he left me, it really hit me.
Yeah.
Um, but what helped me there eventually was making friends, making connections, because when you're down, they are there. They are going to be there to help you, like get back to square one. So when you come here to Georgia, um, you should make it's everyone's in the same boat as you. Everyone's in that uncertainty that, oh, will I make new friends? I've come to a new country, learning the language, and it's not. It doesn't help that Georgian is like it's a unique language. It doesn't have like any connection to other ones. But again, connections with friends, making like these like study groups, that's what's going to get you through medical school. So yeah, that familial connection, and especially in Tbilisi Medical Academy, that's what we can provide here.
Because they do a lot, don't they, at the school for you to kind of bring the community together. You were talking before to us about like the sports clubs and the events.
Yes, there are many clubs you can join here. I've myself have joined the sports club, chess as well. I'm into chess. So all of these like extracurricular activities they provide, because medicine, it's not all about just studying. It's all about that work-life balance, as countless other people have said. Um, we also have a first aid emergency like club. So if you want to hone in on those skills, we have the opportunity here, as well as arts and music. We have that as well.
And what things have you found in particular that have been useful for you when you're doing that work-life balance, that study social life balance? What's been kind of the best things for you out of all of these different options?
Um, well, me and my friends, um, we play football every week, every weekend. Aside from the club, so we get to kind of practice beforehand and get these like competitive exercise of competitive natures, and not only in
Yeah,
medicine,
very good.
sports. So there's always that. Um,
The physical activity as well is such an essential thing, isn't it? To keep the
yes,
spirits high, keep your energy going.
yeah, it does wonders for the mind. I'm telling you, like just that fresh air, um, getting your body moving. So
Fantastic. Oh, it's so good that you have that opportunity, and I'm always saying to students, yes, the location is very important, but the most important thing is that you find a good community. And wherever you go to, if you're going somewhere with an international community of students, as long as you really put yourself out there in the beginning, you're going to make some really great friendships. Do you feel like that's something that you didn't do as much the first time when you came sort of in the May?
yeah, that's my first mistake. I think it was made harder because of the COVID restrictions, so we didn't actually
Of course.
yeah, communicate with them in person. It was just all online. But having like that in-person interaction and having other people from the UK as well, over here in TMA, it really like brought a piece of home to me. Like you could relate with them uh, from like experiences. It's not all foreign. So yeah, that's what made like all of us realize that Georgia, it's really like a multicultural country. Um, Everyone's welcoming. Everyone's like warm-hearted. Um, yeah, everyone's helpful.
Fantastic. And I know obviously you've been focusing mainly on your studies and having a bit of fun here and there. Are there any kind of touristy experiences that you've been able to have yet in Georgia or in the capital, Tbilisi?
Yes. Well, last week I walked to waterfall. Like that's how amazing like Tbilisi and Georgia is. You can walk.
Walked to a waterfall from the
Yeah.
capital city.
There's only like 15, 20-minute walk, but um,
Okay, nice.
yeah. Uh, and then there's this statue called the Mother of Georgia, which um, you can access by cable car, and it's like in the middle of a mountain, and it's wonderful. I'm telling you, because it's like this giant statue um, in the middle of a mountain, and just breathing that fresh air is something else. And
Yeah, I've explored a lot of mountains before, and the air is one of the best things. It's so pure, and again, something to do in between studies. Having the opportunity to just 15-minute walk here or a 10-minute cable ride journey this way, and you're up in that kind of air, and it's so fresh. And
Yeah,
you'd never get that in a lot of places in the UK. You'd struggle to get something like that.
exactly. Yeah, that's what I like about Tbilisi. It's just like a city, but it's surrounded by mountains. So, or I'd consider myself a country guy, and coming to Tbilisi, a city, um, well, on the face value, I was kind of that's what was one of my concerns. Like, how would I adapt to the city? But just like actually exploring Tbilisi and seeing that you can have the best of both worlds here. You can have a city and the countryside, the mountains, and stuff like that. It really like opened my eyes. Like, it's not just black and white, city or countryside. You can have both as a grey.
Yeah. And from the traveling that you've done and the different places you've lived in, can you really compare Georgia to somewhere else, or is it completely kind of unique? I'm thinking maybe New Zealand. I haven't done much in New Zealand, so I'm not sure. But
Yeah, New Zealand. It was no, I say Georgia is like a unique experience, a unique country because um, as we know, Georgia is it's in the middle of like a blend between Europe and Asia, and those cultures come together um, just to produce this unique country called Georgia. And
hmm
I just love this blend in cultures because um, it's so welcoming, it's so diverse, it's so accepting of these different cultures, and like it's got you can you see the influences from all over the world, and it's a unique experience from all the countries I've visited. I'd say it's probably one of the best.
Yeah, it's kind of right in the center, isn't it? You've
Yeah,
got kind of the eastern countries, you've got Russia, you've got Turkey, you've got Europe, and it's kind of right in the middle. It's got a perfect blend of everything. And it
yeah,
just kind of sits there as a neutral country, accepting everyone. Because that's another thing, the whole process of actually getting there. It's not like European countries where you have to go through visa processes, especially for UK citizens, but a lot of other citizens as well in a lot of countries, they don't have to go through the same kind of rigorous visa processes. Although, just to make it clear, I know for some countries they still do have to. It's not open easily for everyone, but compared to other countries, it's a lot more of an open border kind of policy. And it's great to see because they are quite a touristy country now, aren't they? There's a lot of history and a lot of culture there. Lots of things like that to explore. Have you been fortunate enough yet to do any kind of museums or anything like that?
um I have not, unfortunately, because I've been cramped up in work, but
Of course.
yeah.
We are not forgetting you're a medical student, don't worry.
But I've seen like the fortresses and like the rich history Georgia has to offer. It's very like well kept, it's well preserved because you can see like churches and synagogues from like 5th century. Don't quote me on the history, but it's
Don't
very
worry, we
old.
won't.
It's well kept, I'd say. Country with a rich history, and it's
Yeah.
really cool. You can see that you're able to see it even in the 21st century.
Absolutely, without even learning that much about it, I guess just being able to go around and experience it. If you've ever got a bit of time off, you can just go around, find a nice coffee shop and have a coffee or a tea and just enjoy all
Yeah,
the sights and having all that historical buildings around. It's something I enjoy as well, being here in Bulgaria. It's quite similar. They've got a lot of history and a lot of culture, and it's really nice just to be around it, just to kind of enjoy it within that atmosphere. And let's talk a little bit more about your actual schooling and your lessons at Tbilisi Medical Academy. How's it been for you so far?
it's been great, Tom. That's like one of the words that I'd use to say it, like sum it up. Um, TMA, it's like they're very open to change, um, and that's what I think a uni that listens to their students is a sign, like a mark of a really good university. Um, so like just a couple of weeks ago, um, well, actually yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we um, our teachers ask us like, what can we do to improve? Like, are there any suggestions um, that you'd like to contribute for the class? And
Hmm.
that involvement of students with the teachers, like more student involved, makes it's sort of like a positive for this university, because in I know in other universities it's just basically the lecturer just tells you what to do and you do it. But having this involvement really makes you think that you're part of something big, and you have control of how the university works, which is something really important.
Yeah, I mean, we work with so many universities, and we have done for many, many years now. And universities, they have their systems, and they like to keep to their systems. And usually, it's nothing to do with the student. They've got their processes. They've been doing them for a long time, and they're happy with it. And most students are okay with that, but sometimes it can be a bit tough. Sometimes there might be things that are very old-fashioned now, and it's like, come on, we're in 2023 now. Let's change things around. Let's improve things. Look at where we are with technology and with everything else. There's so many things we can change. So it's great. And you're not the first person I've heard this from, about TMA having this kind of attitude towards development, looking to the students and saying, look, how are you finding things? What can we do to improve and develop? And it just seems to make for a very supportive, well-nurturing school, that's really helping its students to thrive in such a difficult qualification.
Yeah.
And so what would you say is something that you found, let's say, challenging during some of your classes?
Challenging. Uh, I'd say
Maybe a specific subject or a test or anything?
anatomy. I I
The big
mean,
one.
most medical students would say that, um, well, why would we have to memorize all of these? It's such, it's like, it's such a tedious process. It's very long, and that is something I've struggled with um, for, well, for how long I've been doing this course. And
Okay, let's just very quickly. What advice would you give to someone who's about to start medical school when it comes to anatomy classes? Now you've been through it with the power of hindsight. What advice would you give yourself?
um, well, always just be resilient with the information you're being presented. Anatomy is a lot of memorization, and sometimes you don't want to do it, but you have to do it. So you just have to like tell yourself you're doing this so that you can treat your patient better. And if you know the anatomy well, the foundation is there, then you can be a good doctor in the long run. And just keep reminding yourself you're doing this for a cause. You're not doing this just so that you can memorize like the parts of the human body. You're doing this for the betterment of people, the betterment of you as a doctor.
Yeah, I think that sums up how to make yourself resilient, really, isn't it? And have that discipline is by having those motivating factors behind you and remembering, why you're doing this and looking at the bigger picture. How important would you say that's been for you?
Oh, it's been one of the key like factors into making me who I am today. Being resilient as a doctor, as I said before, you're not going to have um, like all the patients you encounter. It's not always going to go your way, and being able to be resilient, even in the face of like adversity, it's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you more disciplined, and um, just being able to not give up even in times of challenge. Um, it's going to make you grow. and that's very important as a doctor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what would you say, how's the university helped you with these challenges?
They've been like very open in terms of support. If I have a doubt, my teachers they would help me in any way they could. Um, for anatomy, especially, um, when I didn't do so well in the first midterm exam, I asked my teacher for help, and he sent me this PowerPoint because I struggled with like diagrams and labeling them and where they were. So he sent me like a PowerPoint with um, and these like diagrams for so I could label them, and that helped me so much. So that I just practiced them like every day for like 2 weeks, and now I can label those diagrams like from the back of my mind, in the back of my hand.
Hmm.
So just asking for help, and these teachers have really helped me, and responded to my like need, like plea for help, basically.
Good. And they've responded with some innovative ways, some way that what you hadn't thought about before that helped you,
Yeah,
little activity to help you memorize it.
exactly. Yeah, that's what I like about TMA.
Fantastic. And of course, anatomy and memorizing, as exciting as these things are, another thing that I know people are going to want to hear about is the clinical side of things.
Oh,
Um, Now, I know with TMA, they do actually give you early access, which is quite rare for a university and having some clinical experience. Have you been able to have any of those experiences yet yourself?
um, we had um a biochemistry lab um a couple of a week ago, and we were fortunate enough to see like how we could test for blood glucose. So that's some sort of clinical exposure we had. We also went to an infectious diseases clinic little over a month ago, and then uh, I had the opportunity to actually go into a Georgian hospital and see how it was. I could compare um, the differences in standards and policies from like let's say UK hospital, and it was very interesting to say the least. So
I
having
can
that
imagine.
exposure, yeah,
Did it help to kind of motivate you through the studies?
yeah, it kind of did because it, it's it kind of tells me that I'm not studying all of this again for nothing. I'm going to be working in this environment, and seeing it this early on does motivate me and remind me that I'm not doing it for nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And tell us a bit more. What kind of things did you get to experience when you went to the hospital?
It wasn't that much because I'm guessing um, it was because we are just first semester students.
Oh, of
Um,
course, only just getting started. But
yeah,
as I said, people usually they don't get to see the inside of a hospital for 3 years in medical school. So being able to even step inside the front door within a student capacity in your first semester is exciting for people to hear.
yes, um, and I got to wear my first like lab coat session, first white lab coat. I actually got to use it in the biochemistry like lab.
Hmm.
So when I first like actually wore it, that's when I said, "Oh, I'm in medical school now." Like it kind of hit me wearing that lab
You
coat.
got the lab coat on. Yeah, that's an
Yeah,
iconic part, isn't it?
yeah,
I bet that was a pretty satisfying feeling after all of the things you've been through and having that phase where you were a bit down and kind of in a ditch and making it back out and then being able to get to that point.
it was really, yeah.
Fantastic. And what other things would you say have stood out about your school experience so far?
Um, well, I'd say about I'd say
Just to put you on the spot a little bit.
uh, the like extracurricular activities that like TMA has to offer. Well, we talked about that, but um, I
Maybe
like,
just a combination of it all. The
yeah,
labs, the clinical experience, the extracurriculars. You fit quite a lot in just to one semester.
yeah, and
Have you
what
had
has
any
happened?
time to sleep?
Um, not well. I do try to like balance like gym and everything in, but I have my sleeping schedule hasn't been the best so far, as and like most medical students would say. Um, but one thing I do like that Georgia has to offer is um, countless like walking trails. I do like hiking, I like walking, um, and just being able to go out and about really like um, it really like satisfies my soul. I'd say anything other than
I
like medicine.
Of
I'm sure.
course, yeah. When you're caught in classrooms and doing all your homework and studies in the evenings, being able to go out in that fresh air, and as you said before, having that experience, it's phenomenal. It's very lucky to be able to get that. Were you aware of kind of the experiences that you'd have before you went, or what was kind of going through your head before all of the whole process of going?
Um, well, uh, a
Like,
lot
as
of
you said, you had a friend, didn't you? And your friend
yeah.
had kind of told you a bit about it. Did you get much of an idea from them, or was a lot of it kind of new things to discover?
Oh, most of them were like new because she just told it was just like basically a phone conversation. She told me what the uni was, how the teaching style was. I really liked how she said it was small, um, a small university with like small teaching groups. And what really attracted me towards it was basically I didn't want a university with like 500, 600 students per class. I wanted that sort of teacher to student ratio being high. So like I
Hmm.
wanted to have that kind of bond with the teacher, and that teacher kind of viewing me as a person instead of like just another student, like just another number. So that's kind of um, what I got from the phone call. Um,
Interesting. So that was the initial thing that made you think, okay, this place could be for me, is when you found out that you were going to have a lot of interaction with the teacher. It was going to be a very engaging type of place.
yeah,
It's good that you had the right determination. Some people, they choose somewhere because the weather's nice or because they think it's a nice, pretty country that they've seen on TV or something. But you're going with the right intentions there. You were looking at the correct things to look at, I would say. And it's paid off for you, right? You've had a
it
lot of
has.
support, a lot of engagement.
It has. It honestly has. Just going into this community, this I'd say family here in TMA, because we're all looking out for each other. We all want each other to become like the best doctors we can be. So um, it really is something special we have here.
Fantastic. I'm so glad that it's all paid off for you in the end. You've gone through all of that hard work, all of that effort, but eventually you've got there. And what would you say you're looking forward to most now in Georgia and with TMA?
Um, I'd say getting my hands on in like clinical exposure. Like doing first, I think we're going to do like CPR or like catheter insertions, and I just love to get my hand um like actually
Hands-on experience, get in
yeah.
on it. Yeah, of course. And
So I'm really
definitely
looking
because
forward to that.
you want to go into potentially surgery you were mentioning before, weren't you?
Yes, and I know it's like opposite sides of the spectrum, but either surgery or psychiatry. Um,
Okay.
I'm not sure yet, but yeah, I'm keeping my options open, and I'm just gonna see where this takes me. Whether I change my mind or not.
Of course, I'm sure you're going to have lots of experiences that are going to influence you both ways. I'm sure you've spoken to your professors about it as well, and kind of shown them your interest, because they're always going to open up new avenues for you and give you experiences based on that. So,
Yeah,
yeah, fantastic. I wish you all the best with it, Aaron. I hope
thank
we
you.
get to hear about things soon. I hope we get to get some more details and kind of watch your journey together. And we'll definitely bring you on the show again if you'd be happy to.
I'd love to, Tom. It's been a pleasure talking to you and sharing my experiences, and I'd love to do to update you on what TMA has offered me again. So
Thank you.
thank you.
If you were to, just to finish off, if you were to give one little piece of advice to students listening now that are kind of on the fence and wondering, about what to do next, what would you say? What's your advice?
I've said this before in the last hour, but
That's
I
fine.
still stand strongly by it. It's to never give up. Just be resilient and trust your instinct, like I did. If you need a break, you can take it. Just take your time and make sure you have a reason you want to study medicine, and it's just not like you know going with the flow. So um, never give up, I'd say.
Aaron, studying at Tbilisi Medical Academy, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for telling us about your beginnings, the middles, the ends, and potentially looking into the future as well. We're so happy to have heard from you. And for all of you listening, if you want to comment, if you want to ask any questions, leave them in the comments below. We're happy to go through and ask anything. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing so you can hear back from Aaron at some point in the future when we have him on next, but also a bunch of other students, professors, doctors, dentists, you name it. We're going to be getting as many people as we can on this show just to try and give you guys at home the best insight into what it's really like to study abroad, with medicine and dentistry in these countries. But thanks again for listening. This is another episode of Students Abroad Answer, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.